Due to the release of the Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie, people have been wondering how well the Demon Slayer cast would do up against other popular mangas like My Hero, Chainsaw Man, and Kagurabachi. But the one that everybody is talking about is Jujutsu Kaisen. So in this video, I've decided to pit the Shinjuku cast from Jujutsu Kaisen up against the Infinity Castle demons to see who would win. So strap in, because I'm about to get real in depth with this video. But before I do get into the video, if you guys do enjoy content like this, you know what to do. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I do post content like this regularly, and to be honest, it's a win-win. You guys show me love and support, and I give it back to you in the form of videos. Whether it's Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, or just other fictional works in general, in due time I plan on covering it, so be there when I go there. But I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so I jump straight into the video to see if the Shinjuku squad could take down the Infinity Castle. Okay, now before we rush into the video, we must do a few things, and one of those things are listing out the rules. The first rule will be that there will be no Gojo, Sukuna, Urame, or Kenjaku, as it will be everybody who fought Sukuna past Gojo's death. The second rule is that they'll be raiding the Infinity Castle. It will only be the Upper Moons and Muzan who we will focus on. So no, you will not be getting Tanjiro versus Yuji here, as that's for another time, and there won't be any random demons just lurking about. The third rule will be that the Jujutsu Kaisen cast will have the exact same information that the Infinity Castle team had, which means they know certain demons' weaknesses and they know how they rank, plus what they do, so they won't be completely in the dark. Now why I did this was because both teams inside of both cannons got prep time, so it's only fair that I gave the Shinjuku squad the exact same amount of prep time. But don't worry, the demons will also have some sort of knowledge on the Jujutsu sorcerers, and that knowledge is basic knowledge on Jujutsu sorcery, meaning a basic understanding of cursed energy, cursed tools, domains, RCT, just things that they should know. Now techniques, they won't know, but they'll know basic things about cursed energy, as I feel like if they didn't, it would kind of be lopsided. The fourth rule will be that it will be the cast as they are heading into the Sukuna raid, so Yuji won't have his domain off rip, and Yuta won't have any experience from being inside Gojo's body, and also Higuruma with his RCT, because that's actually pretty big. But don't worry, their growth isn't stagnant, so yes, they will be able to grow during their fights. And so the fifth and final rule will be that they must win no matter what. So even if, let's say, everybody but Todo dies, then the Shinjuku team wins and vice versa. So as long as one person's left on each team, then the other team can win. So with that being said, that's all for the rules. So how about we head straight into the scaling? And so to begin the scaling section, we have Demon Slayer. Now, Demon Slayer scaling could vary upon who you ask, as many people believe that the verse isn't that strong, but it surprisingly is. So how about we start with their AP? And their AP is no slouch, as a weaker Upper Moon like Gyutaro was able to let off an explosion that destroyed an entire town. This is useful as he is on the weaker end of the Upper Moons, and the ones that are present here, aside from one, are far stronger than he is, and it isn't even a contest. For comparison, Tengen, somebody who doesn't even have a mark, was able to swap blows with Gyutaro, whilst Gyu with a mark was struggling against Akaza. The gap between these guys is insane, so for their AP, I'm going to be placing them around town level plus to even small city level, to even probably just straight up city level, especially for the likes of Muzan and Kokushibo. For their speed, being massively hypersonic plus is where they should hang at a low ball, as Zenitsu, somebody who they are leagues above in terms of strength and just speed overall, was able to blitz Kaigaku who they are also leagues above in terms of strength. Mitsuri was also able to dodge Hantegu's lightning bolts, and this was in base before her mark, so it's pretty clear that being faster than lightning is a common occurrence here. Oh, and also, these are invisible like the Harsher's effects. They are real, as they are demons, so yes, this is real lightning. Now there is a massive argument that you can throw out there for two people being sub-relativistic, and that's Muzan and Kokushibo, mainly due to the massive strength gap that they do have over the rest of them. Now, will they be here in this video? I don't think so. I can see them qualifying for it, but I don't think they get there. I won't disagree with you if you think they're up there though. Moving on to their durability, them being at town level to small city, or even city level in terms of durability is fair, as their AP should be very relativistic to their durability. So moving on, we have their endurance, and man, in this stat, they are basically unparalleled. Since they are demons, they have regeneration, and as they are one of the stronger demons that you will see inside the entire series, the regeneration and stamina is basically infinite. So this stat genuinely can't be matched, and that is why it's heavily recommended to just completely obliterate them, or just somehow hurting from fighting you mentally. Now there are ways that you can get around this, like poison and a few other things, but that'll be mentioned later. Moving on though, we have their battle IQ, and these guys are all hundreds of years old outside of one of them, and that one person either way is super smart and talented at fighting. But even if you remove their age, all of them are masters of combat, and that's why they're all one of the strongest. Yeah, they're all super old, but at the exact same time, they were chosen because of their strength. And so yeah, in this category, they are certainly great. And so finally, we have hacks. And this is where I'll have to split them all up. Now all of them are demons, and they all have their own unique methods of attack, but one thing they all share is the ability to heal and their infinite stamina. So first up, we have Kaigaku, and he is a great swordsman who can use the thunderclap and flash technique, and because of his demon art, he can bring it to life. Secondly, we have Akaza, and Akaza doesn't have any special techniques. For the most part, he has everything a regular demon does, but just super enhanced. And the reason he has no real powers is because he's a martial artist, so all of his techniques involve punches and kicks that do have shockwaves and air-based attacks where he will punch or kick, and that will then send a shockwave to you. Most notably, he has his compass needle that allows him to do many techniques like sense how strong somebody is just by looking at them, or being able to anticipate when somebody is going to attack. These are common things with martial artists, but good to point out. I would say that his sensing is so great, he was able to sense Tanjiro whilst his head was cut off. But as you can see on screen, he does have a lot of attacks, but none of them have some sort of special ability that can end the fight in one shot. Next is Doma, and Doma, unlike Akaza, has a range of techniques, so we should go over them. Doma can absorb people he's killed to feed, can create fans that he uses in combat. His regeneration is extremely impressive, as he can take poisons and absorb a body before it slowed down. Mind you, that body was infused with many poisons, and his demon art is an ice-based ability which allows him to control ice. He can create a freezing mist that, if you inhale, it can be insanely dangerous, as it will freeze and kill your lungs. He can use his ice in tandem with his fans. This can be super dangerous, as he can use this in tandem with his ability to then control the environment due to his ice if need be. He can also create clones, up to 6 of them that he can battle with, and they do record information just like shadow clones. Now obviously they are weaker than Doma, but that's still very, very impressive. And if the main Doma is hurt, his clones will also be disrupted as well. Lastly, we have his Lily Buddha, and it's a massive statue that allows him to rest on the shoulder of, and he can use it to land devastating blows. It kind of reminds me of Hashiramu's massive wood giant that you saw him using as Madara. So yeah, you can just tell that this Buddha right here, if it lands a few attacks on you, it's probably over for you. So yeah, Doma can fight up close and personal, but can also fight at range and just control the environment as a whole, making him an extremely dangerous opponent. Next is Kokushibo, and Kokushibo is a massive step up from Doma and Akaza, as his skin is far tougher than theirs and his regeneration is way better. Now the reason this is because of the mark, and that instantly puts him above them by a large degree. He can absorb his enemies just like Doma and create a sword just like Doma. Now because of his mark, he has access to the transparent world, which means he has X-ray vision, so he can tell when you're gonna attack due to the flow of your blood and whatnot. He also has breathing style, which is called the moon breathing style, and that allows him to shoot out many crescent moons due to his blood demon art, enhancing it. He has many moves with his technique, and yeah, he comes across as a final boss in his monstrous form that he can enter, but he isn't even the final boss. I just want to add that Kokushibo is significantly older than the three people mentioned before, and with him being Yorichi's brother and just everything else, that is why he seems like a final boss, as he is a demon who, even though he doesn't even come close to Yorichi, he's still extremely strong with a unique breathing style that is enhanced by blood demon art, and he has had many centuries to just grow stronger and absorb humans. So yeah, Kokushibo is definitely a huge step up from Doma and Akaza, and certainly Kaigaku. Finally, for the heavy hitters, we have the final boss, and that's Muzan. Now Muzan has essentially all of their base abilities, so weapon creation, super enhanced regeneration, durability, and the whole 9 yards. But the main thing I must point out for Muzan is that he has 5 brains and 7 hearts, and so until you can delete all of them, there's no way you can defeat him. And I just want to remind you that unless you hinder that regeneration in some sort, or you're just quick enough, he can't regenerate them, making him damn near immortal. Now Muzan has a combat form, and that has several mouths and many tendrils that he can use that sprout from his arms and legs. He can also jump bodies if there's a suitable host around, and a bunch more abilities that aren't useful for this battle, but he can use telepathy though, which could be useful when talking to other demons. Now for the last person we must cover is Nakime, and she controls the castle. In theory, she could solo the entire thing if need be, but her character, with how she is written inside the series, she seems to kind of be egotistical to a certain degree, and she doesn't really use her powers to a full extent. So that is one thing I must point out. And since we're on the topic of characters' weaknesses, they all kind of have the exact same weakness, and that is their weakness to poison. And that is very key, because the two of them that actually went down, like seriously went down because poison was hindering their regeneration. Oh, and Kaigaku lost because he's just weak, but the main hitters lost because they were either poisoned or felt some sort of disgust, or just felt as though they were cheating because they had really good regeneration. So as you guys can see from what the story is portraying to us, if you don't have a special blade that none of these guys will have, you have to either rely on poison or something that can just slow down regeneration. Now it's also great to mention that they are all linked to Muzan at their soul, as his cells and stuff are just imbued into them. So yeah, that's another key thing to mention, especially when talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. Oh, and they also do have a massive weakness that they just can't deny. They can't just regenerate from this, and that is the sun. But they have to survive until dawn for that to happen, and these guys can just run away, and they are very quick. So yes, you can rely upon the sun, but you're gonna have to get them to the sun for it to work. And so with that being said, I feel like I've said everything I need to say about the demons, and if there's anything that I'm missing, I'll probably just include it in the battle. So how about we move into the Shinjuku squad. Now to begin the Jujutsu Kaisen section, we have the AP, and JJK's AP scaling can vary, as in the raid we have several people who will be fighting with so many different abilities. So I'm just going to keep it simple and keep it to where the main combatant should be, as there are going to be a lot of supporting members here. And they can range from large town level due to Jogo's Meteor, and many characters at this point in the series can either match this, as they have taken stronger attacks later on, or dealt stronger attacks later on, and this means that they can go up to even city level. But that's mainly for the heaviest of hitters, and there's an argument that only one or two of them can even register for this, as it's mainly Sukuna and Gojo who can get this high comfortably. Now there's a massive argument that this is all DC scaling, which I can actually agree with, and that's why I'm going to be a little bit lenient here, as we all know, your AP tends to be a tier above what your DC scaling should be, and a lot of them are throwing punches and kicks. So yeah, I think for the majority of the heavy hitters here, or the people who will be fighting hand to hand, they should be around small city level, but at their strongest, so their regular blows could be around town level to large town level though. And if you don't understand what I just said, I'm saying that if they are doing any maximum techniques or just fighting at their full strength, so they're doing like a burst attack or something, they're gonna be at around small city level to maybe at a push city level, but for their regular attacks, it should be around town level to large town level. Up next is speed, and them being massively hypersonic is justifiable, and no, they are not Mark 3 in terms of speed. In movement speeds, I can see it, but as the story likes to flip-flop around, I'm just gonna take what we see, because statements all the time inside of Jujutsu Kaisen get contradicted 24/7, and as the story goes on, we've seen people do feats that literally contradict what is being said. So yeah, I'm gonna go with what I'm seeing on panel. Like, Gege doesn't really know what he's doing with speed, so I'm gonna actually just take what he's drawing down, which means yes, Maki has reacted and perceived lightning, so has Hakari. People at this level do this on a regular basis, so yes, they can easily reach massively hypersonic plus, and while yes, their movement speeds definitely did not increase, as Sukuna did test this out, their combat speeds could have, and there's no reason to not think that they didn't. So yeah, I'm gonna say that they're gonna be massively hypersonic plus. And yeah, there is an argument for them being even faster due to Kashimo, but if I'm gonna put any of them at light speed, it's gonna be Kashimo, only in his CT form. And for Maki dodging the World's Kind Slash, that was a severely weakened Sukuna compared to the one for Kashimo. So no, we can't cross-reference these things. Next is the durability, and for their durability, I'm going to place them around where their AP is, as they do solidify their defenses, and they can take attacks from likes of Sukuna, which is very impressive. The heavier hitters can take full-on attacks from him, well, depending on what you can quantify as a full-on attack, as we do know that he was holding back to a certain degree, but what I mean by that is they were taking individual attacks from him. So yeah, town level to small city level is where I'll place them. Next is their endurance, and these guys have great endurance, as they were able to fight Sukuna, who is constantly slashing at them and giving them life-ending blows to which they regenerate from. Their stamina and health is mainly tied to their cursed energy, and while some of them have infinite, some don't, so it can vary, but they can all take a hit, a great hit at that, and they basically need to be killed or knocked out to be completely down and out of the fight. Moving on, we have Battle IQ, and these guys have some great strategists on their side and people who can think of things on the fly. All of them are super talented, and there's a reason why they hung with Sukuna for so long. They're definitely no slouch in this area, and this is a stat where they all excel at. Finally, we have their hacks, and there's like, bro, people don't even remember that there's like 30 characters here. The best way for me to show everybody who chipped in is by putting this ranking that I found online of everybody who contributed. And bro, covering everybody's abilities here who participate in Shinjuku would be an entire video in of itself. So I'm gonna just talk about the people who are important, and in this versus battle, I'll just say this character is here and you should probably know their abilities. Okay, so first up we have Yuji, and his soul ability will actually be used here as Muzan's soul is tied to the demons. So that means if Yuji can attack the space that ties them, he can do something really cool. I'm gonna let you figure that out, but yeah. He has RCT with Hope and many other abilities that are common with Jujutsu sorcerers, and since it's the start, no, he won't have his Black Flash ability where he can just spam it, or his domain expansion, but he can unlock them. He has a simple domain though. Next is Yuta Akotsu, and he has copy along with many other techniques due to copy. He also has Rika, his domain, RCT, and more. This is an insane arsenal that will be used against the demons. Moving on, we have Maki, who has the Soul Split Katana, a fully realized heavenly restriction. I'm gonna tell you guys now that Maki is going to be a very key player here. Then we have Hakari, who has infinite cursed energy through his domain, and he will definitely be pivotal. Following up on Hakari is Higuruma, whose domain can strip anything away and give him the Executioner Sword that can one-shot anything if landed, but that only occurs if you get the death penalty. Then we have Takaba, who, if he finds a joke of his funny, he can materialize his domain and put you through a series of events. Whilst he wouldn't kill you, it would weaken you since he doesn't want to kill anybody, so yeah. We also have Kashimo, who can use lightning and electromagnetic waves, and through this, as I said before, you can say his light speed, and I will say he's the only person at that speed for this video. His CT does basically kill him, so if he uses it, it will have to be a life or death scenario, and yes, I will be making him use it here, but only against a certain someone who you guys can probably piece together who it will be. After that, we then have Kusakabe, Choso, Miguel, Todo, Yuyui, Mei, Angel, and more. Now, they all have cursed energy, and with that, it allows them to use their techniques. They also have binding vows, RCT, which can help them with burnout and heal them, simple domain, which can negate attacks and also help them heal, domain amplification, which is mainly used to neutralize cursed techniques, and domain expansion, which is your innate domain visualized, and it usually gives the user a buff or some sort of special ability that can do great damage of some sort. There are also cursed tools like the Soul Split Katana and Nanami's weapon, but the only person who can have all of them would be Yuta, so if he's gonna whip any of them out, well, it'll be up to him. Additionally, we do have Black Flashes. and anybody is privy to this. This phenomenon usually occurs when you're seriously locked in. Currently, Yuji holds the number of the most amount of Black Flashes inside the series, and that's mainly because he seems to tap into it a lot more when locked in. That's why I usually just say that it's a technique of his of some sort, but maybe it's just that Yuji can just tap into his locked in or flow state a lot more than everybody else. Anyway, Black Flashes allow you to hit your opponent with the power of 2.5, so what it means is that you hit them 2.5 times harder for that specific blow. That's not the only thing that it gives you. It also gives you other things like replenishing your RCT output, which can allow you to replenish things like your curse techniques because they have been burned out. So Black Flashes are pretty OP, and especially depending on who's hitting you, it can do serious damage. Also, it just seems to give an overall buff to how you view cursed energy and whatnot. So yeah, Black Flashes are very, very strong. So yeah, with that being said, I feel as though we've gone over everything we needed to. So how about we hop straight into the versus battle? Exploding Muzan, all of the Demon Slayers rush at him, and this forces Muzan to summon the Infinity Castle. Now, as the Slayers are diving down into the castle, the sorcerers swap positions with them by using Todo, and now instead of facing the Slayers, they're now facing the sorcerer. Now I know everybody wants to know who's fighting who, so here are all of the battles laid out for you. Landing first, Kashimo runs into Kaigaku. Next is Chozo and Yuji up against Akaza. Then we have Maki, Angel, Miguel, and Maki up against Doma. Next is Hakari, Todo, Ino, Luar, Nobara. Yes, she'll be awake, and Kusakabe up against Kokushibo. And so that leaves Yuta, Meimei, Higuruma, Takuba, and Hazanoki up against Muzan. Now, the other supporting members will be somewhere safe because of a detail I'm about to get into now. Now, as they are being dropped into the Infinity Castle, as they know certain things that the demons don't know they know, Todo is going to go with Maki, and they'll instantly be teleporting around trying to find Nakime, and they get what they want as Todo is able to shift around the Infinity Castle very, very quickly, getting out of Nakime's sight. And as Nakime sees them there, they just blitz her. And that's mainly because of Todo's teleportation, and Todo's teleportation is something that you just can't get around. If Sukuna can't figure this out, then Nakime is not going to be able to, and Maki is going to slice off her head and dice her up instantly. And she'll also get rid of the banjo as well, meaning that the Infinity Castle is no more. But don't worry, remember after the Infinity Castle was destroyed, yeah, there was a town slash city that they all fell into, so this is where they'll now be fighting, and so they will all get into their fighting positions as they've all landed in front of their targets, and Todo will then take Maki to where she needs to be, while the supporting cast will then be teleported away into a safe hiding spot. And so the first battle is going to be Kashimo versus Kaigaku. And although I want this to be something insane, Kaigaku is nothing special. I can see Kashimo just using him as a warm-up, so they'll be fighting and then Kashimo will be like, okay cool, I just need to get this guy out of my way. So he'll tag him a few times and then just start sending lightning bolts at him, blowing off his arms and then his head, and if he needs to, just send another one to just obliterate the rest of his body. I don't see this being anything too massive for Kashimo, so yeah, he wins this pretty easily and runs off into the direction of where he thinks Muzan is. Next up is Yuji and Choso versus Akaza, and this battle is very interesting as they'll be swapping hands and the hands would be flying here, but with Choso's support this would be very interesting. And as we know, Choso's blood can poison people, and as we've already discussed, the demon's main weakness here would be the poison. Now it's great to mention that even though Akaza could dodge, we need to remember that these demons do take attacks because they believe that they can tank him. That's something that I do want to point out, that a lot of them do, because they know that they can survive many fatal blows. A piercing blood to Akaza is probably going to be something he would just tank on his back because he doesn't really see it being too damaging. And this will ultimately then be his downfall, as he's going to be focusing on Yuji and thinking that Choso's just running around doing a bunch of nonsense. But no, that piercing blood, when it hits, will then slow Akaza down over time. And that's bad for him because Yuji is getting stronger with every punch and kick he is throwing, and every punch and kick he is receiving from Akaza. Now I'm not going to sit here and act like Yuji doesn't get his arm blown off at least once and Choso is forced to come down and make him learn RCT, but they would then be able to continuously then pile on the blows, and with Yuji then starting to weaken his connection to Muzan, the argument of Akaza's abilities getting weaker and weaker and his demonic powers just lowering could be very, very true. And we have to remember here that Akaza is a martial artist, and as we've seen inside the series, Akaza, yes, he does like to play rough, but at the exact same time, if he is intrigued by an opponent, that can also lead to his downfall, as he will take attacks that he doesn't need to. And going into this, because he has been weakened by the poison that he's now starting to realize is taking effect, Yuji is starting to grow. He is now starting to hit his black flashes, and with Choso's support, Akaza is starting to feel it. And due to how much blood he is making Yuji spit up, Yuji is also now starting to use his blood manipulation, and he and Choso use a blood manipulation at the exact same time, using a supernova that explodes him. Now does his entire body explode? No. The supernova is very strong, but it's not enough to do that. It does do a lot of damage to him and his head does come off, but it's not enough. Now Akaza tries to regenerate, and he does actually manage to do a bit of it, but just like in canon, he realizes that he lost. So what does he do? Yeah, he gives up. Now this is with good reason, as he does respect Yuji and he started to respect Choso, as him and Choso have a very brotherly bond, and that's something that Akaza can actually like. So yeah, after getting boxed up by Yuji and Choso, Akaza's like, yeah, the poison's taking over anyway. At a certain point I was going to stop being able to regenerate, as he can't really counter Choso because Choso's poison is different. So yeah, that's a W for these two, but don't get me wrong, Yuji and Choso are extremely tired from this fight. Next up is Doma's group, and arriving in there, they all confront him, and as they know certain things about him, there's a certain level of hatred there already. So they plan on taking him down. So their first plan of attack is engaging with him, with Maki, who draws him in, and Angel dives in and uses Jacob's ladder. And this is where I want to bring up something. Are the demons cursed? Now this is a good question, but since they're demons and evil, I might just say that Jacob's ladder will do damage, but as we've seen, people have tanked it, mainly Sukuna, and the Sukunas who took the attack were weakened. So Doma taking this is very plausible, but the issue is that Maki isn't letting up. Now Maki may be slower, but taking Jacob's ladder means that he is stuck, and so Maki went straight for his head, decapitating him. Doma at this just laughs, because they did do a bit of damage, but he can just regenerate his head. So now it's just a game of how long will it take for him to kill them. But here's the catch, Miguel's here, and whilst his black rope won't work here, he's the perfect rage baiting weapon for Doma, and this allows Maki and Angel to combo him. Dancing in front of Dama, who's just regenerated his head, he tries to attack Miguel, but it doesn't work, and then his arm is sliced off by Maki. As they combating him, Yui comes in with Utahime, and they've come here with a reason. They're here to plan. But Doma isn't laying up, and is using many AoE attacks that nearly catches him, but Yui is quick to avoid them. Inumaki, who's been pretty quiet this whole time, is chilling with them, and he's just waiting for the perfect moment for him to use his one-time thing, because we all know that Inumaki he's there. Now Miguel's rage bait is going well, but he does get nicked a few times, but don't worry, Maki is there to tank the brunt of the blows. And so now it's just a waiting game for Utahime to help Inumaki and Angel. And this is actually going to be something that was going to work until Doma is like, I can't be able to deal with Maki anymore, so I've got clones. So he then creates the clones and decides to go attack the ones at the back who are charging up their attacks. This throws a massive wrench in their works, and they are forced to use Angel's Jacob ladder once again, preemptively. And this is where they're like, okay, Doma is doing a little bit too much, because after that he brings out his Buddha. So Ui is like, yeah, I don't feel like you guys should be facing this, and he takes everybody out of there, teleporting away to where the rest of the non-combatants are. They rest until they see Kashima run past them, and Maki is like, do not go down there because Doma is waiting and he is a little bit too strong. But Yui is like, I can take you to Muzan, and that is exactly what Kashima wants to hear. So they're taken to the Muzan group, and let's just say they're currently involved in Takuba's domain, and it's very disorientating for Muzan at least. The others are taking their role seriously, even if it's not what they want, and Kashimo is forced to sit there and wait, but the domain doesn't last long as they come out, and instantly, due to Muzan being disorientated, Higuruma pops his domain on his dome and trials him for killing Tanjiro's family, to which he says yes, and the executioner blade comes out. And oh, I just want to say that everybody else was in the stands. They were like the jury and stuff. Now you may be wondering, what did he confiscate? He confiscated a heart, okay? Like, he took nothing. But it doesn't matter, as he has the executioner blade. And so with them boxing, all Higuruma needs is one hit, and they're going to make sure he gets it. So Yuta pops his domain, and the sure hits just keep raining down on Muzan. Muzan's not taking any long-lasting damage, and they're all being hit by the tendrils, but one person breaks through, and that's Kashimo, due to him popping his curse technique, and he gets up close and personal with him. Now, does Muzan land a straight blow on him and slap him away? Yeah, but that's fine, because even if he believes he's the main course, he's not, because everybody else is peppering him with attacks. And so this allows Higuruma to come in and stab Muzan after Yuta uses cursed speech. Now the reason Muzan let Higuruma stab him is because he believed that the sword was just a fancy sword. He doesn't know anything about Higuruma. So he was just like, okay, so what? I will just heal this. He was just waiting for this weird domain thing to disappear. Since, well, we've seen him take multiple Nichiren blades inside the series and come out fine, so, I mean, he doesn't really care. Plus, he hasn't been poisoned here, so Muzan's ego was on another planet, and we know that he has a massive ego. So that's why he just takes it. But he takes it. And he's like, wait, what's going on? And yeah, long story short, he just dies inside of Yuta's domain. Meaning that, yeah, they beat Muzan fairly quickly. Now in canon, if Muzan dies, every other demon aside from like 2 in the verse would just evaporate. But since he died early on, I'm gonna make them keep their powers. So, coming out of the domain, Yui appears and tells them that Doma is near, and this group, along with the initial Doma group, goes to fight him, and they completely bully him. Even Hazanoki's using his explosive limbs to kill the clones and actually do stuff, so they all whittle down Doma and allow Maki to slice and dice him up, with Kashimo helping with one last final blow. Which does mean that, yeah, Kashimo does die here, but it's out of good faith. Now, although I'm talking about this all hunky-dory, I just want to let you guys know that they are running low on stamina. As, yeah, they defeated Muzan pretty quickly, but doing all those attacks does take a lot of stamina, and Doma did take a little bit longer than some of them thought it would take. Now, obviously with RCT and Yui just teleporting around, this obviously keeps a lot of their damage to a minimal level, but their stamina isn't doing too well. But hold on, wait, there's a group I haven't focused on at all, and that's the Kokushibo group. So let's see how they're doing. And let's just say Ino died, Nobara died, Luar died trying to stop him, Kusakabe is barely alive, Todo is alive, but only because of his teleportation, and Hakari is actually doing something, but is basically a punching bag right now. Kokushibo is in his monster form, but they need more muscle, and fortunately that muscle has arrived, and they even have Choso and Yuji. Now, they have no like massive cheap tricks left. Yes, poison is available, but game-changing things are damn near gone. So, as they all tired from their previous fights, what can they do? They're stalling. And all stalling because they have a massive attack. Now, Choso is going to do what he needs to do, and that is hitting Kokushibo with a piercing blood. Once he tags him with that, they all get to jumping him. Yuji, Maki, Higuruma, Hakari, and everybody else who can throw a punch or a kick or an attack in general is doing their bit. Now, in the back, Utahime supercharges Inumaki, Angel, and Yuta, as Yuta has entered his 5-minute mode, and along with Angel, they do a Jacob's Ladder after Inumaki shouts at Kokushibo to stop. Now, I just want to let you know that after he shouts stop, like, he kind of just falls to the ground, like, damn near dead, but it's fine, because Angel and Yuta use a double Jacob's Ladder on his dome, and the guy is just like barely alive. And that's where everybody else comes in and continues. Maki slices off his head, tries to dice it up. Yuji hits multiple black flashes, but in the end, the fight stops as Yuta has one final attack that is going to take care of the severely weakened Kokushibo. With Kokushibo letting out one last attack, he does hit a few people, and Hakari got hit just outside of where he was able to then stack again with his domain, so he got his arm sliced off. Yuji was actually able to counter one of the moon slices with his own shrine. He was actually going to pop his domain, but Yuta told him not to. But yeah, Maki, she got slashed away. Higuruma got his arm cut off. Miguel got his legs cut off, so did Choso, and a few of them through the jumping did sustain some bad blows. But at this point it's over, because Yuta says this is pure love and eviscerates the severely weakened Kokushibo, giving the Shinjuku squad the W. Now, I must really emphasize this and say that the Shinjuku squad only won because of prep time. If they didn't know that poison was going to be their biggest, and I mean truly their biggest way to victory, then they would have lost. Like, if they didn't know any of their abilities, like what Muzan does, what Doma does, like if they didn't know what demons did or anything, they would have learned it on the fly, but they would have lost still. Like, I'm being very, very honest with you. Yuta, Utahime, Choso, Yuji as well to a certain extent, Maki, like they wouldn't have done certain things they would have done if they didn't know. And another thing that I do want to add is that Hikari stalling was also massive. Todo going in and killing Nakime, somebody who could have literally just made this a living nightmare for all of them, as they wouldn't have known what to do against her. Like, the prep time that was given to them assured them the victory, because their curse techniques can counter them in ways that the demons just can't do anything against, but that's only if they knew what the demons would do. If the demons had the exact same information they had, if it was equal information swapping, the demons would have fried them. I just want to let you guys know that the demons would have absolutely fried them. But yeah, please do not underestimate the demons from Demon Slayer, as their regeneration is something insane. They damn near immortal, all of them. It's just that you have to find their specific weaknesses. Now obviously they're not down there immortal if you're like way stronger than them, but if you're around their power level, they can come across as being immortal. So yeah, I think that's all I really need to say. So how about I wrap up the video? But yeah, with that being said, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as I did enjoy making it. And yeah, I love you all, and I shall see you guys in the next video. Thank you for the support. And yeah, I love you all. Good. Bye.